Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. Get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. The Biden State Department says that Hamas terror leader Yahya Sinwar's removal from the battlefield is a significant development and presents an opportunity for a much sought-after ceasefire. President Trump picked up some support in Pennsylvania. A majority of Pennsylvania county sheriffs wholeheartedly endorsed Trump for president, according to a statement released yesterday. In the final weeks leading to the November 5th election, there are a number of legal challenges taking place concerning election integrity. The latest, the Biden administration was served with a major lawsuit over alleged refusal to help the state of Florida purge non-citizens from voter rolls. And one of Amazon's top executives defended their new controversial 5-day-per-week in-office policy, saying that those who do not support it can leave for another company.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but you know they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
The State Department yesterday said the killing of the Hamas leader, Sinwar, by Israeli troops presented an opportunity to maybe end this year-long war. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that Sinwar's death, said about Sinwar's death, quote, "There's been no path to ending this war because Sinwar has refused to talk about releasing hostages." He said, "We now see an opportunity with him having been removed from the battlefield, being removed from the leadership of Hamas. We wanted to seize the opportunity." Sinwar is considered the chief architect of the October 7th massacre, which Hamas militants stormed into Israel, killing nearly 1,200 people, kidnapping 250 others. This was an attack that, of course, surprised and stunned the entire world. As of October this month, Hamas militants are still holding around 100 hostages. Israeli forces hailed Sinwar's death as a major victory. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed that his country will keep fighting until all hostages are free, however. He said Israeli forces will control Gaza long enough to ensure that Hamas does not rearm. It's not clear who will succeed Sinwar. His death, of course, is a crippling blow to Hamas. The group has proven resilient, though, in past losses. I mean, Sinwar took over from a previous terror leader. Miller said, "One thing we do know for certain is that the world is a better place with Sinwar gone from it." And that was echoed by a number of world leaders yesterday. In the 12 months of fighting, Israeli forces have killed, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, 42,000 Palestinians and destroyed much of the Gaza Strip. The number is the civilians and combatants are not distinguished among these numbers that the Palestinians release. They do that on purpose, of course, because they want the world to visualize a bunch of innocent children, a bunch of innocent women, and non-military men as being slaughtered by Israelis. President Biden and congressional lawmakers praised Israel upon hearing about the news. The Hamas leader Sinwar was eliminated by the Israeli forces, was found in rubble in the Gaza Strip. Is believed that he's been hiding underground in the series of tunnels under Gaza since the conflict started. President Joe Biden issued a statement congratulating Israel for the killing, saying it was a good day for Israel, for the United States, and for the world. Many lawmakers were positive too. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said that Sinwar had the blood of numerous Israelis and Gazans on his hands. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffrey said Israel, the Middle East, and the free world is a safer place. Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi, the highest-ranking Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, said that Sinwar's death should be a warning to Iran and its proxies in the region. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina said Israel delivered a mighty blow to Hamas and Iran. In a statement, he said the ultimate revenge against Iran and their terrorist proxies is to replace terrorism and hate with sustainable security, peace, and prosperity for the region. Others mirrored what Senator Graham and other leaders of the Senate and the House said. Israel vowed to kill Sinwar following its military campaign in the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip. They've been looking for him since they were able to fight their way into the area. The Israel Defense Forces confirmed Sinwar's death after conducting DNA tests on a body that was among 3 terrorists killed during a battle. There is a video that's been released, saw it in the New York Post, showing someone who is identified as this terrorist who was throwing a wooden object at a drone that was obviously about to attack him. In July, Sinwar was elevated as Hamas's top leader after his predecessor, Ismail Haniyeh, was killed, again by the Israelis. Referred to by Israel as the Butcher of Khan Yunis, Sinwar was known for his violence, for his cruel torture methods against his enemies, both Israeli and Palestinian. He was 61 years old, widely seen as being behind the massacre of many Israeli civilians. The IDF has long targeted Sinwar. They referred to him as a dead man walking, meaning we're going to get you eventually, and yesterday proved to be his last day on earth. Sinwar was believed, again, to be hiding in the tunnels under Gaza. He was not seen very frequently. He was born in the Khan Yunis refugee camp in Gaza in 1962 after his family had been displaced during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. His upbringing was heavily influenced by his ideological commitment to resisting Israeli occupation. I mean, basically, this guy was raised to hate Israel, and he has spent his entire life hating Israel and wanting to kill Israelis. He was co-founded Majda, a Hamas security apparatus. This was in the late 1980s. It focused on finding and killing Palestinians who were suspected of collaborating with Israel. I mean, this was a bad guy. This was a guy who had brought a lot of pain to a lot of people. And it got worse after he was arrested in jail and jailed in Israel in 1988. He was charged with killing 2 Israeli soldiers and 4 Palestinians that he suspected of collaborating together. Sinwar was sentenced to 4 life terms, but he was released in 2011 in a prisoner exchange deal for Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit. This is why these prisoner exchanges are never a good thing, because this guy, from 2011 on, that anger has been building, and he has been training to kill Israel ever since, or Israelis. Sinwar once told an Italian journalist, "Prison builds you," he said, allowing you the time to think about what you believe in and the price you're willing to pay for it. He's been planning this for years. He reportedly tried to escape prison several times, once digging a hole in the prison floor in the hopes of tunneling under the facility and escaping through the visitor center. It didn't work. He was caught. But again, bottom line, this guy was bad news. This guy was a terrorist. This guy did not appreciate life. He wanted to cause as much pain, as much chaos to as many Israelis and Palestinians if he suspected them of turning against his people. So, yes, for once, Joe Biden and Chucky Schumer and some of the Democrats, we find something to agree on. The world is a better place that this guy is taken away, that he's no longer on the face of the earth. And maybe, just maybe, whoever's left in the Hamas hierarchy, maybe they'll come to their senses and realize they're fighting a losing effort. Now, in most cases, people like that do not appreciate life. They don't care about life. They will give their life for the cause. But maybe they'll come to their senses and realize enough is enough. I don't want to leave my family. I don't want to live like this anymore, being afraid and hiding in tunnels for the rest of my life. Let's see if we can finally create some peace in this region and learn somehow to live together. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic to think that this could potentially happen. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. I go hot and cold when it comes to Politico. I read a lot of their emails. That they actually produce some pretty good research at times. But then they come out with something like this column from yesterday. They published somewhat of a hit piece on Senator J.D. Vance. The subject was on the amount that Vance was paid in speaking fees back in 2017 during his book tour. He wasn't even a U.S. senator at the time. This is when his best-selling book, Hillbilly Elegy, was published and later became a movie. Politico wrote, J.D. Vance requested first-class flights, private cars, and speaking fees as high as $40,000 from Midwestern public universities during his 2017 book tour, with one university breaking off negotiations for a campus visit in part over the fee. And they go on to explain this, that Vance's request, negotiated through a speakers bureau and a talent agency that he had hired, documented in emails obtained by a public records request and provided to Politico, offer a window into his meteoric rise following the release of his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, at a moment when his public comments about Donald Trump stood in stark contrast to what is today his defense of his running mate. Now, this is what it's all about, is they're still having trouble of reconciling how J.D. Vance could have been critical of Donald Trump in 2017, which he has said. He said some things that were not complimentary, let us say. He has addressed that. And it's not uncommon in politics. I mean, look at some of the things that Kamala Harris said about Joe Biden in the 2019 primary. But you don't hear Kamala Harris held at this standard, do you? Democrats don't even mention it anymore. Politico writes, in February 2017, more than 4 years before he was elected to the Senate, I'm glad they at least acknowledged that, a representative from the University of Wisconsin-Madison contacted Vance's publisher, informing them that Vance's memoir was a finalist for its Go Big Read program, inquiring about logistics and cost to bring him to campus. A representative for HarperCollins responded that Vance's fee for a 45-minute program, question and answer session, and book signing was $25,000 plus first-class flights, hotel meals, and ground travel. Nothing about that is unusual. Quite often, when people are asked to come speak, that's part of their deal. You got to supply first-class airfare. You got to supply hotel and meals and ground travel. I mean, that's just part of it. It's nothing unusual about that at all. And even the $25,000 speaking fee that they initially quoted, not out of line. There are a lot of people out there, less known than J.D. Vance, who get $25,000 for a speech. I'm not one of them. I wish I were. I wish somebody would pay me $25,000 to come speak. Politico goes on and says, by that April, when the university informed the publisher that Vance's book would be the selection, the publisher informed the university that Vance's speaking fee was now $40,000 instead of the $25,000. Well, guess what? When the book was released, it became a bestseller, and it was announced that there was going to be a movie made, J.D. Vance became that much more popular. It's the old supply and demand. And, quite honestly, he's represented by a speaking bureau. Quite often they set the fee because they know what the market will bear and what they can sell their clients for. According to the article, university negotiated that fee down to a $30,000 honorarium, but negotiations eventually stalled over finding a date on Vance's calendar, according to the email. So basically, they never could agree on a date. They go on to write, when negotiations resumed months later, the publisher again quoted a $40,000 fee. As Vance's representative and the university zeroed in on a January 2018 visit, the university broke off negotiations, saying the fee and the timing were, quote, too much to overcome. The university ultimately still used the book, but assembled a local panel of experts instead of inviting Vance to speak. So what's the story here, Politico? That J.D. Vance made a lot of money in speaking fees before he became a U.S. Senator? Would it matter if he's a U.S. Senator and he still paid speaking fees to speak about his book and movie? The Associated Press previously reported that Vance earned at least $70,000 from these talks, in front of at least 18 universities. In the months after the book's release, Vance spoke at Bowling Green State University for a $15,500 fee. Asked for a comment, a spokesperson for Vance defended Vance's speaking fee by saying it's widely known that, like many best-selling authors, Senator Vance was compensated for speaking events after the success of Hillbilly Elegy. This is William Martin from the senator's office, saying high-profile Democrats like the Clintons, Obamas, and Bidens have made tens of millions in speaking fees over the years. Politico should be embarrassed to be reporting on something so irrelevant to the issues American voters care about. Well, I agree with that. Politico, shame on you. Because, again, what's the issue here? Has Politico been living under a rock? Are they really suggesting that this is something out of the ordinary? First, Vance was a public citizen at the time, and he had written a best-selling book. Plus, it's not unusual anymore for even politicians to be paid speaking fees. Former President Bill Clinton, case in point. He has made the most of any modern president on the speaking circuit. He gives dozens of speeches a year, and each brings in between, get this, $250,000 and $500,000 per speech. This, according to a number of published reports. He earned $750,000 for a single speech in Hong Kong in 2011. That was highly publicized. In the decade or so after he has left office, Bill Clinton, during that 2001-2012 period, has made an estimated $104 million in speaking fees. This, according to the Washington Post, a publication that is fairly supportive of Bill Clinton. Clinton makes no bones about it. He was quoted by NBC News as saying, "I got to pay our bills." You can look at President Barack Obama, Michelle Obama as well. Less than a year after leaving office, Barack Obama kind of came under some scrutiny from fellow Democrats, by the way, when it was revealed that he's being paid $1.2 million for 3 separate speeches to Wall Street groups. That's $400,000 a speech. And Politico's complaining that J.D. Vance, as a private citizen, successful book author, was paid or was asked to be paid $40,000. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD weight loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD weight loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part, PhD weight loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD weight loss program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Donald Trump picked up some key endorsements in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. The majority of county sheriffs in Pennsylvania endorsed the former president yesterday, saying they are, quote, confident in his leadership and ability to safeguard our country. A letter was signed by 49 of the 67 county sheriffs in the state of Pennsylvania, who said that Trump is absolutely the best candidate to support law enforcement and to secure the border. In their statement, they said, and as elected law enforcement officers in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we consistently hear 2 messages from our constituents and neighbors: that they want safe communities for their families and children, and that they oppose radical defund the police agendas by career politicians. That is why we are proudly standing with President Donald J. Trump and wholeheartedly endorse his candidacy for President of the United States. The county sheriff said that even before Trump was a candidate for office, that he stood shoulder to shoulder with police and law enforcement, saying he is the only candidate who has supported and continues to support law and order, law enforcement, and our duty to serve our communities and keep them safe. This is most evident with our southern border, they said. The county sheriffs pointed to the unprecedented flow of illegal immigrants through the U.S. southern border under the Biden-Harris administration, and stressed that immigration is not only a border state issue. And this is what we are seeing all across the country, that you have 2 primary issues that people are using to make their final decisions on who to vote for on November the 5th. The economy and immigration. All the other issues, they may be important, but based on what we're seeing, these 2 issues are what are driving most decisions among all voters. The county sheriffs pointed to the Trump administration, where they said that the U.S. had a secure border and proper enforcement of our immigration laws. People are just tired of these hoodlums, and not all of them are hoodlums. Some of them are legitimately being persecuted in their countries, and I'm sorry for that. We can't save the world, and we have laws in our country that are there for a reason. And, you know, Kamala Harris was sidestepping Brett Baer's question about whether or not it was a mistake for the Biden-Harris administration to have undone all that Donald Trump had done in his 4 years in office. She never would commit to that. But we all know that that's why we're in the mess that we're in when it comes to immigration and when it comes to people being in our country. Millions and millions, and many of those being criminals. You know, Donald Trump is often criticized, saying that he is just exaggerating this. He's not exaggerating it. Ask that question to some of the families whose members have been brutally murdered by an illegal. That it would never have happened had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris not opened our southern border. So kudos to these sheriffs for standing up and recognizing that issue. Let's go to our text line and get some of your text messages in. Texter Christy says, this is in relationship. Says, I'm sorry I'm late, but I found the Brett Kamala interview and just watched it. I feel the bottom, I feel the bottom to the barrel was hit. Oh, when the mother of the young girl murdered was shown, and the response was, I am so sorry for her loss, but. Christy says, really? That shows you how out of touch this lady is. It's the equivalent of Trader Joe checking his watch on the tarmac when he was supposed to be honoring fallen soldiers coming home. This administration is lower than the bottom of the barrel. God help us all if we have to deal with this ignorance for 4 more years. Well, Christy, that's why we vote. And that's why, Christy, you're going to get people in your family, your friends, your church to go vote November the 5th. And we're going to vote for Donald Trump and elect him. Appreciate your text message. Pete writes, Joey, that interview showed more than people are focusing on. You saw why so many staffers quit from Kamala's staff. She seemed like she was in withdrawal from alcohol, and she wants to move forward, but no mentions that of the past 20 years, 16 were under Democrat presidents, nor any plans for a path forward. Now, Pete, you're asking for them to actually have a little common sense. That ain't going to happen, Pete. Jordan writes, I will say in the last month I've seen more Harris signs coming down and more Trump signs going up in my area. I think it's safe to say people are changing their minds after seeing how she handles situations and how she conducts herself in interviews, which have all been dumpster fires at best. People don't pay attention to the little incorporated towns such as my beloved Joanna, South Carolina. Oh, Jordan, I was through Joanna yesterday as I traveled down to Greenwood to be with my friends, Representative John McCravey, Representative Daniel Gibson, and Senator Billy Garrett for their wonderful Patriots barbecue, honoring our veterans, honoring our first responders, honoring the utility workers, the linemen who have just done a yeoman's job these past few weeks. And I drove right through Joanna. I saw the sign. Maybe I may have bumped into you, Jordan, when I stopped to get some gas at the little Murphy's Oil or whatever it was. Back to Jordan's text. Sorry, I digressed. He says, where was I? Oh, people don't pay attention to the little incorporated towns such as my beloved Joanna, but my dad always says pennies add up. When you have a whole lot of small places with the same ideals, it makes a huge difference. God bless everyone, and please get out to vote. Rain, snow, or shine, we need to take this country back. You're so right, Jordan. Thank you for your text. Laura from Moore, South Carolina, says, still enjoying your podcast and was able to catch you on the radio earlier this week. I understand your stance on voting on Election Day. After all, it is called Election Day. However, I'm asking you to vote early, and so is Donald Trump. Laura, did Donald Trump call you? Laura says, the reason I encourage this is due to having an unexpected hospital visit this weekend, and it made me think I am voting ASAP. No need to respond, just food for thought. All right, so I think Laura is asking me to go vote early. I'd love to get your feedback. Should I go vote early? Text me, email me. I'm gonna let you decide for me, because you've heard me talk about how I pretty much just like to vote on Election Day. But if Laura and others think that I should vote early, I could be persuaded. So text me. You can email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Just leave me a message. And by the way, when you're at mypillow.com, always use promo code Joey. Boy, Mike Lindell has just a major blowout sale right now. You can get the standard MyPillow for $14.88 when you use promo code Joey. And a lot of other great deals too. So go to mypillow.com, click on the radio special box, and you'll see all the deals. But man, $14.88 for a standard MyPillow. He's going to limit you to only 10. Why not go ahead and start your Christmas shopping? MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Texter says, as Glenn Beck said, wake up, America. We've got to take our country back and take our children out of the clutches of evil. That no truer words have been said. Earlier in the week, someone texted me and said, "Hey, Joey, why is it that you are the only one telling us about some of these closings of some of these national businesses? And we're not hearing this on the mainstream media." Joe Biden and Kamala Harris love to brag about how Bidenomics is working. Last week, I told you about 7-Elevens planning to close over 400 stores. Then Walgreens announced the closure of 1,200 stores in the next 3 years. And now PPG, a global manufacturer of paints, coatings, and specialty materials, is laying off nearly 2,000 workers as it trims its operation costs and sells off a chunk of its architectural business. I don't think Bidenomics is working, folks. Not for these companies. Tell that to one of these 2,000 workers who's about to lose their job. PPG, by the way, is headquartered in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where the company's based. I don't know that this is a very good time for a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania company to be talking about laying off thousands of employees, not in this key battleground state. How's Kamala Harris going to convince Pennsylvanians that Bidenomics is working for them? Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. I shared with you yesterday part one of a two-part conversation I had with Bill O'Reilly about his latest best-selling book. It's the Confronting Presidents, No Spin Assessment from Washington to Biden. It's Bill O'Reilly and his writing partner, Martin Dugard, their account of every single president up through Joe Biden. It is a fascinating read. I can highly recommend it. I shared yesterday part one. Today I want to share with you the second part of that conversation. If you missed part one, you can go back and listen to yesterday's podcast. Or this weekend, I'm going to do a special bonus podcast with both segments in one of this Bill O'Reilly conversation. We talked about how things are pretty tough these days when it comes to presidential politics and politics in general. But when you read about some of the things that happened back in the early days, the 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s, things got pretty tough back then too. You just didn't have the 24/7, cable news outlets and social media and emails and internet and everything that we have today. And we talked a little politics, and Bill just stressed how important it is that we get out and vote. Here's part two of my conversation with Bill O'Reilly.
The vote in November is very, very important, and people should not underestimate the importance of it. Surging secular progressive movement with a candidate who will do absolutely anything to advance progressive thought. And if you want to have drastic change in the country, then Kamala Harris is for you. Trump, on the other hand, if you judge him by what he did in office, is fairly traditional in his governance, even though he's the provocateur at the level of Andrew Jackson. And that's Trump's favorite president, Jackson. And they were both like, you didn't know what they were going to do from hour to hour.
Yep. On our guest line today, Bill O'Reilly. Be sure and follow the millions who check out his website BillO'Reilly.com, BillO'Reilly.com. Okay, Bill, you said earlier that Abraham Lincoln was your favorite president. So excluding him, if you could choose one of our presidents from the past to interview, who would that be?
I got to go with Andrew Jackson. I mean, that guy was unbelievable. Decent president, too. Brutal guy. Teddy Roosevelt, I wouldn't call him Teddy. He would be the second. All right, because he did so many things. And both Jackson and Roosevelt were good interviews. They're not going to dodge the question. And if they didn't like the question, they'd tell you, and then I could tell back why the question was worthy. You know me. I'm going back. I've interviewed 5 presidents. And you can just Google Bill O'Reilly, Barack Obama, Bill O'Reilly, Bill Clinton, Bill O'Reilly, George W. Bush, Donald Trump, whatever it may be. It's a very difficult thing to interview a president because you have to be respectful of the office. But in my zone, the no spin zone, you can't kiss their butts.
Yeah.
So you got to walk this line, okay, which I successfully did. But it took a lot of preparation on my part.
Yep. Confronting the president's no-spin assessments from Washington to Biden. You're going to love it. Pick up a copy at your favorite bookseller. Bill, we have to take a minute to talk about current day affairs. Give me your 30,000-foot view of where you see the presidential race headed.
Well, it's a dead heat now, and there will be things that happen in the next 6 weeks. So it's not going to be at the level of assassination attempts or Biden withdrawing. Those were amazing historical occurrences. But there are going to be things that influence the election. See it coming. Because the ferocity of both sides are very, very angry. Whenever you have collective anger in any country, it manifests itself. I don't think Kamala Harris is going to allow herself to be interviewed by anyone other than 6 minutes. I expect her to go in there. Trump probably will as well. If Trump starts to fall behind in the polling, I think there may be a second debate a la Ronald Reagan in 1984. And I suggested to former President Trump that he does debate a second time. Reagan got hammered by Walter Mondale in the first debate, but came back big in the second and won in a landslide. And we chronicle that in Confronting the Presidents. But I can't call it. Everywhere I go, Joey, everybody's, who's going to win? And I said, listen, if I knew, I'd go to London and put the house, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you can't bet on a presidential race in America. It's illegal. But you can in Great Britain.
Yeah, yeah. The vice president, there's so many things that she hasn't done that she had the opportunity to do during these 3.5 years or so. For example, the southern border crisis. She became the border czar, if you will, within a month of taking office. She's done absolutely nothing. Now she's suddenly gotten interested, and she's going to be in Arizona on Friday, and she's going to visit the border. Do you really believe that the people in America are not going to see through this sudden interest of her in going to the border?
People believe what they want to believe, Joey. And this race is all about hating Donald Trump. So the people who despise Trump, they don't care. Kamala Harris is a charlatan, whether she's incompetent, they don't care. They just don't want Trump. So she can get away with a lot of stuff. And I think it's a little unfair to Vice President Harris to deem her the border czar. That thing was screwed up by Joe Biden and Joe Biden alone.
True.
By executive order.
True.
Right? Harris had nothing to do with it. But she cheerleaded it.
Yeah.
And she told the nation the border was secure for 3 years, which was not true. That's where her deficit is.
Yeah. People, when they ask me what I think, and I'm like you, I mean, I think it could depend on a single event leading into it that could potentially sway that 10% or so who are in the middle, the independents. But, years ago, James Carville had that famous, it's the economy, stupid. And don't you think that that really applies today as well? Americans are hurting economically. I think in the end, they're going to blame Kamala Harris for the cost of a dozen eggs and a gallon of milk.
Trump should be up by 10 because of the economy and the border and the mess overseas. He should be leading by 10 percentage points. But it's his demeanor that's holding him back.
Yeah.
Now, whether people will come to the realization that if I vote for Kamala Harris, I'm voting for somebody that I have no blanket idea about because people don't know about her. I think that Trump and the Trump people certainly believe this. They believe they're going to win. Because when it comes down to it, people are going to look at their personal finance and go, we're getting killed here. And certainly Kamala Harris has not articulated any view that would improve the economy.
Yep. Bill O'Reilly, it's always a pleasure. Again, let me remind you to pick up a copy of his latest hit, Confronting the President's No-Spin Assessments from Washington to Biden. And check out his website, BillO'Reilly.com. Bill, appreciate your time today. Good luck, and thank you. Thanks again for the great work on the book.
I appreciate you having me in, Joey, and I'm glad you're doing well.
Sure thing. Always a pleasure. It's a great book. Pick up a copy wherever you purchase your books. Confronting the President's No-Spin Assessment from Washington to Biden by Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard. And if you missed the first part of my conversation with Bill yesterday, a couple options. You can go back and listen on the Odyssey app. You can listen on my podcast, Just the Truth. Just search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth, wherever you listen to podcasts, either on the Odyssey app or Apple or any of the major podcast platforms. Or tune in tomorrow for Word on the Street on 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas, at 12 noon. And I will air the entire conversation with Bill O'Reilly. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button, send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.